Afghanistan. Just the name conjures up images, doesn't it? Images of towering mountains, harsh deserts, and a people who've known more than their fair share of conflict. It's a landlocked country tucked away in Central Asia. For centuries, it's been a crossroads of cultures and empires. But it's also a land of resilience where people cling fiercely to their traditions and dream of a brighter future. I've been lucky enough to travel to Afghanistan, to meet the people and hear their stories. It's a place that stays with you, that gets under your skin. The resilience of the human spirit is something you see everywhere you go. Despite the challenges, the Afghan people hold on to hope. In this journey through time and turmoil, we'll delve into the heart of Afghanistan. We'll explore its stunning geography, its tumultuous history, and the complex realities of life under Taliban rule. We'll meet the people, hear their voices, and try to understand the challenges they face. And we'll search for glimmers of hope in a country yearning for peace. Afghanistan is a land of dramatic contrasts. Towering mountain ranges like the Hindu Kush dominate the landscape. These mountains, some of the highest in the world, are snow-capped for much of the year. They create deep valleys and narrow passes, shaping the very fabric of life in Afghanistan. But Afghanistan isn't just mountains. There are vast deserts too, like the Registan Desert, where the wind whips the sand into dunes that stretch as far as the eye can see. And then there are fertile valleys fed by rivers like the Amu Darya and the Helmand River, where farmers cultivate crops like wheat, grapes, and pomegranates. This varied landscape has influenced everything from the country's history to its culture. The mountains, while beautiful, have also made travel and communication difficult, contributing to Afghanistan's isolation and the development of distinct regional identities. The deserts, harsh and unforgiving, have tested the limits of human endurance, and the fertile valleys, where life-giving water flows, have been the cradle of civilization in Afghanistan for millennia. Afghanistan's strategic location, at the crossroads of ancient trade routes, has shaped its destiny for centuries. It's a land that has seen the rise and fall of empires, from Alexander the Great to the Mughal Empire. The arrival of Islam in the 7th century was a significant event in Afghan history. The Arab conquests brought a new religion and way of life, forever changing Afghanistan. Islam quickly became deeply intertwined with Afghan culture and identity. The Ghaznavids established a powerful empire in the 10th and 11th centuries. The Mughals ruled over a vast empire in the 16th and 17th centuries. The 20th century was a time of immense upheaval for Afghanistan. After gaining independence in 1919, the country experienced peace and modernization under King Amanullah Khan. But this period was short-lived. The Soviet invasion in 1979 marked a turning point. Out of this conflict emerged the Taliban, promising order and imposing strict Islamic law. Their rise to power in the mid-1990s was swift and brutal. They imposed a harsh regime, particularly on women. The Taliban's rule ended in 2001 when the United States invaded Afghanistan. The US-led invasion toppled the Taliban regime and ushered in a new era for Afghanistan. A new constitution was adopted, democratic institutions were established, and there was a surge in international aid and development assistance. For a brief period, there was hope that Afghanistan could finally break free from its cycle of conflict and embark on a path toward peace and prosperity. However, the Taliban, though weakened, were not defeated. They regrouped in the mountainous border regions of Pakistan and launched an insurgency against the Afghan government and its international allies. The war dragged on for 2 decades, claiming the lives of tens of thousands of Afghans and thousands of foreign troops. In 2021, as the United States withdrew its forces after 20 years of war, the Taliban launched a lightning offensive, capturing major cities one by one. The Afghan government collapsed, and the Taliban swept back into power, taking control of the country once again. The international community was left stunned and dismayed, and the Afghan people were once again left facing an uncertain future. The Taliban's return to power has had a devastating impact on Afghanistan's already fragile economy. International aid, which had been the lifeblood of the Afghan economy for 2 decades, was largely cut off. The banking system collapsed, businesses shut down, and millions of people were plunged into poverty. Afghanistan is rich in natural resources, including vast reserves of copper, iron ore, and lithium. But years of conflict and corruption have prevented the country from exploiting these resources and unlocking its economic potential. The Taliban, despite their promises to revive the economy, have so far failed to attract foreign investment or provide much-needed relief to the Afghan people. The United Nations has warned of a looming humanitarian catastrophe in Afghanistan. Millions of people are facing acute food shortages, and malnutrition rates are soaring, particularly among children. The healthcare system is on the brink of collapse, and access to education has been severely curtailed, especially for girls. The international community is grappling with how to provide humanitarian assistance without legitimizing the Taliban regime or exacerbating the country's economic woes. Despite the challenges they face, the Afghan people are known for their resilience, their hospitality, and their rich cultural heritage. Afghanistan is a land of remarkable ethnic and linguistic diversity. Pashtuns, Tajiks, Hazaras, Uzbeks, and numerous other ethnic groups have called this land home for centuries, each contributing to the country's unique cultural tapestry. Islam is the dominant religion in Afghanistan, and it plays a central role in everyday life. But within Islam, there are different interpretations and practices reflecting the country's diversity. Sufism, a mystical branch of Islam, has a long history in Afghanistan, and its emphasis on peace, tolerance, and love resonates deeply with many Afghans. Afghanistan has a rich artistic tradition, expressed through music, dance, poetry, and handicrafts. Afghan carpets are world-renowned for their intricate designs and vibrant colors. Afghan music, with its haunting melodies and rhythmic beats, is deeply evocative of the country's soul. And Afghan poetry, often infused with themes of love, loss, and longing, offers a glimpse into the hearts and minds of its people. Since the Taliban's return to power, fear and uncertainty have cast a long shadow over Afghanistan. The Taliban have imposed their strict interpretation of Islamic law, restricting personal freedoms, particularly for women and girls. Women must cover their faces in public and are barred from most jobs or traveling without a male guardian. The Taliban have cracked down on dissent, targeting journalists, activists, and critics. The international community condemns the Taliban's human rights abuses and calls for restoring fundamental freedoms. Despite the risks, many Afghans, particularly women and young people, are courageously raising their voices, demanding their rights and a better future for their country. They are organizing protests, running underground schools for girls, and using social media to share their stories and connect with the outside world. The international community has a moral obligation to support the Afghan people in their struggle for freedom, justice, and human rights. This includes providing humanitarian assistance, advocating for the rights of women and girls, and holding the Taliban accountable for their actions. The future of Afghanistan hangs in the balance. The country stands at a crossroads, facing immense challenges, but also holding the potential for peace and progress. The choices made by the Taliban, the Afghan people, and the international community in the coming months and years will determine the fate of this ancient land and its people. The world is watching Afghanistan with a mixture of concern and cautious hope. The international community is grappling with how to engage with the Taliban without legitimizing their rule or abandoning the Afghan people. Some countries have called for dialogue and engagement, while others advocate for isolation and pressure. The United Nations has played a critical role in providing humanitarian assistance and facilitating negotiations. But the organization's efforts have been hampered by the Taliban's intransigence and the lack of a unified international response. The withdrawal of foreign forces has created a security vacuum, raising fears that Afghanistan could once again become a haven for terrorist groups. The stakes are high for Afghanistan and for the world. A stable and prosperous Afghanistan is in everyone's interest. But achieving this will require a sustained commitment from the Taliban, the Afghan people, and the international community. Despite the daunting challenges, there are glimmers of hope in Afghanistan. The Afghan people have shown remarkable resilience and determination in the face of adversity. They are eager to rebuild their lives and their country. The international community has an opportunity to support the Afghan people in their quest for peace and progress. This includes providing humanitarian assistance, promoting education and economic development, and empowering civil society. The road ahead will be long and arduous. But with courage, compassion, and a shared commitment to a brighter future, there is hope that Afghanistan can finally break free from its cycle of conflict and emerge as a beacon of peace and prosperity in a troubled region.